Assalamu alaikum children. So today also we are continuing the same lesson, that is future time, right? What I did for you last Monday. So in future time on Monday we saw what is future, right? What do we do in the future time to express an action or event that is taking place tomorrow or next year or in the next minute or the next hour. That is future time. So then moving on, we saw the several different ways of expressing the future time, right? So first of all, I explained you the first two ways, that is about will and shall. In this table here, I explained you the uses or the places where we use will in one column and the places where we use shall in another column. So you need to remember this in order to do the exercises, right? And then I talked about another important point you all need to remember. That is, when you use shall, you need to only use it with we or I and sometimes you, but not with other subjects. Okay, shall cannot be used with other subjects. You must always remember that. Now, today we are continuing, right, by the third word or the third phrase we use to talk about future time, the third way, right? That is going to, right? So there are two uses where for which we use is going to in the future, right? The place, two places or situations. To talk about firm plans and to make a prediction. Going to, right, it helps it is used to make firm plans. Firm plans mean the plans which you're sure about, right? It's not like you have an ounce of doubt on it. You're sure, you're confirmed about the plan you're making. I am going to join a new school next year, which means that you're sure that you're going to join a new school next year. So your plan is, you're sure about that, right? So the next is make a prediction. So it is similar to what we saw in the word will. So we even use the word will to make a prediction, right? Similarly, both the words. So both the word will and the phrase going to can be used to make a prediction. That is to make a guess. I think it's going to be a long summer. So when you add will, it will be, I think it will be a long summer. So going to and will can be used to make a prediction. So the next one is, the next way we see is the form of verb be plus to, right? So this one, right, here, suppose I ask you what are the different forms of the verb be, B-E-B, it's a verb, right? So if I ask you what are the different forms of the verb be, you need to know the answer. Now for example, I can ask you what are the tell me the different forms of the verb give. So the different forms of the verb give is giving, given, gave, right? Has given, have given, had given. So all those are different forms of the verb give. Past tense, past participle, present tense, right? So similarly, verb be also there are different forms. So those different forms are only is, am, are, was and were. You need to remember that. So here form of the verb, different forms of the verb be plus the word to. We add those two and use it in the sentence, right? For example, the students were to submit their homeworks tomorrow. So there were to, the one I have underlined, that is the form of the verb be plus to. Were is the form of the verb be, then we have to, were to, right? So that's about this one, for using the form of verb be plus to. So now moving on, now we are going to see, right, to talk about the future time we also use four tenses, right? So two tenses you all have already learned this year also, last year also, that is simple present tense and present continuous tense. So the other two tenses which are new to you all and being introduced only this year is future continuous and future perfect. So after we see simple present and present continuous tense, we'll be moving on to learn the new tenses, right? So first of all, simple present tense. So simple present tense is used in the to talk about our future related actions when we want to talk about in scheduled actions, scheduled events in the future. Now scheduled means it's like something you have. For example, scheduled events mean I can take your school timetable. That's a scheduled event. It's already scheduled before previously. For the whole week the timetable is scheduled. Tomorrow you have the first period English, right? On Tuesday you have the first period science, second period Tamil Sinhala. Similarly, that is a schedule. So when you're talking about events in a schedule or pre-arranged events, scheduled events mean pre-arranged, already arranged events, you use the simple present tense that is related to future. Okay, scheduled actions are related to future. So then present continuous tense, planned actions, here not scheduled but planned actions, something you plan to do tomorrow or next week. They are planning to visit their aunt tomorrow. That is something what you call a planned action. There you use present continuous tense, right? Simple present tense is used for arranged or scheduled actions, right? Now let's see the next two new tenses, that is future continuous and future perfect, right? So if you all have your exercise books with you all, please note this down as a note, okay? As a small written note in your exercise book, grammar writing book. First put the heading as future continuous, right? Under that, right, the way we identify future continuous tense, that is will plus be plus verb plus ing, right? Will plus be plus we add ing to the verb. That's how we write future continuous verb. First you put the word will, then be, then the verb, and you add ing to the verb. Will be traveling, will be studying, will be eating, right? Will be writing, will be speaking, right? So though that is how you write future continuous tense. So what is the use? Where do you use this in this future continuous tense in future time? That is, there are two instances, two situations, right? A scheduled or pre-arranged action similar to simple present tense. The first situation or the instance is similar to simple present tense. When you want to talk about scheduled action, you can also use simple present tense. Also, you can use future continuous tense, right? The Prime Minister will be traveling to Spain next week, right? So the second instance or the second situation where you use future continuous tense to talk about the future time is two actions, one in the middle of another. When you get here next week, I will be traveling to Canada. So there, that means there are two actions taking place at the same time. So take the example sentence, right? I have given there. You just propose to visit your aunt who is living in Jaffna tomorrow. So you start your journey today. So your aunt doesn't know you're arriving. So when you call your aunt, you realize that she's not in Jaffna, she's in Batikalo, right? Just imagine that way. She's traveling to Batikalo now. She's not in her home place now, she's traveling to Batikalo. So while you phone her, you say, she says you, when you get here, when you get to Jaffna tomorrow, I will be traveling to Batikalo. So by the time you reach Jaffna at 8 a.m., during that time, she will be traveling to Batikalo. So two actions taking place almost at the same time, right? So those instances you use the future continuous tense, right? So now let's move on to future perfect. Future perfect, how you write future perfect is, first put the heading future perfect in your writing book. Then under that write will plus have plus the past participle of the verb. First you put will, then will plus have plus past participle of the verb. That is how you write and identify future perfect tense, right? So the instance or the situation where we use future perfect tense to talk about our future is when you want to talk about any action that will be finished or completed at a point in the future. At some point in the future, that action will be completed. So that actions, when you talk about those actions, you use future perfect tense. By this time next week, I will have graduated from law school. So here, just you are making a prediction that next year I will have graduated from law school, or you are saying in 5 years I will have finished my O levels. In 2 years I will have completed my A levels. Like that, some point in the future, maybe in 2 years, 1 year, 5 years, or next month, you would have completed that action. Those actions you use the future perfect tense. Now these are the four tenses, right, we use to talk about the future time. Now the last but not the least is you need to focus on this table again. So here I have given you one column, as I said you, the ways of expressing the future time. You need to remember all those ways and their examples, right? So here I explained to you about forms of verb be plus 2. I have highlighted those two columns, rows, right? Models and the form of verbs be plus 2. That is, the forms of verb be plus 2, remember that the example there, the minister is to open the new hospital next Saturday. So there you can see the form I have used is. Then I have added the verb to, right? So that is another example sentence, right? And models, I did not explain about models in detail about may, might and could, but you will get the same thing as a different chapter, models as a separate chapter in this year itself. So I'll be explaining that in detail during that lesson, right? But for now, you need to remember that there are several models. There are several models mean helping verbs. So in all of those models, only these three models, that is may, might and could, can be used to talk about future time. You need to remember that. So that's all for this lesson. Thank you, children.